Hello, everyone. My name is Jared, and I am pleased to be hosting this, our first Google Plus Hangout with members of the orchestra at Temple Square. Not only is this the first Hangout with the members of the orchestra at Temple Square, but it's also the first Hangout we've done live from the Tabernacle. I want to welcome, in order, Bill, Becky, and Emily, all members of the orchestra. Hey, guys.
Hello.
So, Bill is a clarinetist, and both Becky and Emily play the violin. How long have you guys been with the orchestra?
Well, okay, Becky, go ahead.
Okay, I'm probably the newest member. I've been with the orchestra for just a little over a year.
How about you, Emily?
I've been playing for 7 years with the orchestra, so.
And Bill?
Well, I began with the orchestra in 1999, so 12 years, 12 years, 13 years.
So
we had,
I mean, the orchestra is relatively new compared to the choir. And Bill, you've kind of been there from the start, haven't you? If you've been here 12 years.
I remember getting the announcement. The word got out somehow that President Hinckley wanted to begin an orchestra, and amongst us musicians here in the Valley, we were kind of excited about auditioning for the orchestra and becoming part of it, to be with the choir family.
And what was the purpose of the orchestra when it was originally created?
I think it had a dual purpose when it was originally created, as I understand it. We gave 3 or 4 concerts a year, and that seemed to be a great focus. And we also accompanied the choir and enhanced the choir's sounds with all the colors and instruments. I think it was just a big boost to the members of the choir just to hear the sounds live in the same room.
Well, we've seen lately that the orchestra has really been coming into its own. On our YouTube channel, the orchestra concert we posted in Night in Vienna is one of the most popular YouTube videos that we've got right now. And that's an hour-and-a-half concert that people are watching. So you guys should be proud of yourselves.
That's what I understand.
So we asked friends on Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus, of course, to submit questions for you guys. Some of them may get a little personal, some of them not. The first one, though, and the most popular one we received from multiple people, including Michael Sessions, he asked, what are the qualifications to become a member? So how does one become a member of the orchestra?
Emily?
Yeah, when I auditioned 7 years ago, the process was you'd send a CD in, and they would evaluate the CD, and once they decide that they wanted to hear you live, they would send you some music, and you would work on that music for 2 weeks, come in and do a live audition on that music, and then we were evaluated that day, and we were called that afternoon.
Wow, that's a really quick process.
Well, from the time you send the CD in to that final process can be longer, but.
How about you, Bill? When you came on, was it the same?
It wasn't the same. We were given an repertoire list, much like a regular professional symphony would have. And we prepared excerpts, orchestral excerpts, and we came into the assembly hall up by the organ, and we auditioned there on the stage in the assembly hall for Barlow Bradford, who was the orchestra director at that time, and the directors of the choir, and we were chosen on the basis of that audition.
And Becky, you being the newest member, was that your experience?
Yeah, it was a little different. We were to email Ed Thompson, who's in charge of auditions, and we are given excerpts to play. They weren't orchestral excerpts, though. They were excerpts that the orchestra usually plays, harder pieces that they play. And, they're given 2 weeks to a month to prepare. I didn't have to send in a CD, but we did audition for a group of people, and I was notified that same day. So it's a pretty quick process. You just have to check for openings and see if they do have an opening, but it was great. It was a great experience.
So in that regard, then, it is open to whoever wants to try if there is a vacancy?
Yeah, in fact, when I auditioned, I looked online for a few months before. I was interested in wanting to be part of the orchestra, and they said there was never an opening for a violinist. And so I actually ran into Ed Thompson at Costco, of all places, and asked him, and he said, "Yeah, let's give it a try." So I think if people are interested, they should ask anyway. They don't need to wait necessarily. That they should at least ask, because that worked for me.
Now I know that for the choir there are some relatively strict requirements regarding your personal practices and where you live and such. Is that similar for the orchestra?
It is. We have to live, I think, in a 100-mile radius. We're members of the church, and I think it is actually very similar to what the choir requires.
Yes?
Yes.
So are you all local then? Do you all live within 100 miles?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that's because you need to be here frequently. How often do you practice, Emily?
We're usually there for Thursday nights with the choir, and then Sunday mornings as well. But we're on broadcast about 3 out of 4 Sundays a month, and then on top of that, we have recording sessions once a year, and these orchestra concerts that we do a couple times a year. We'll take a couple weeks of rehearsal, quite a few rehearsals a week. And then, of course, Christmas and Pioneer Day, we have lots of rehearsals that week. It's a pretty heavy week.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
That's really an amazing amount of time. How do you find time to do all of that and still spend time with your families and other things? It's a lot of dedication.
Well, much like a professional musician does, we schedule our time. We have section leaders that seek availability for members in their section, and he signs us up for the dates that we're available.
Wow, that's a lot of work. That's very impressive. Of course, one of the reasons we're doing this Hangout is to celebrate next week's concert. The Friday and Saturday, the 22nd and 23rd, you guys will be performing here at the Tabernacle. Who can speak to the repertoire? Because I think there are some pieces that a lot of people would be very interested in hearing.
I can. We're going to do the Overture to the Magic Flute by Mozart, and we're doing Symphony Number 8 by Dvorak, and then Beethoven's Emperor Piano Concerto. And I forget who's playing the piano.
Looking at the notes, I believe it will be Mikola Suk.
That's right. Yeah.
And she or he, excuse me, he's from Budapest.
Wow.
Have you performed with him before?
I believe he performed with us a few years ago at a Bravenel Hall when the Tabernacle was being renovated. Mm-hmm. He performed with us the same piece.
So are there any favorite pieces in this repertoire that you're looking forward to playing?
Dvorak is awesome. No matter how you play it, Dvorak's always great.
That's true. It's the main piece. However, it's always exciting to play with a very fine soloist.
Yeah.
Because they inspire the orchestra, and hopefully will inspire him as well.
Have you had a chance to rehearse with him yet?
No.
No, not yet.
Next week.
Next week, just before the performance. How about the magic flute? That's usually seen more in the context of the actual opera rather than an orchestral performance. How is that?
It's always great to play Mozart, and I think that's one thing that's so fantastic about being a part of this orchestra is the variety of music that we can do. We can do stuff from Mozart to Broadway, to hymns, and I think that's just been a fantastic experience. And so it's neat to go from a broadcast and then come to rehearsal and play Mozart, and it's just been a great experience. And
there's so much energy in that Mozart piece, don't you think, Becky, with the violins? Yeah. And we get featured, and there's energy, and all of us playing together is so fun. It's so fun.
It really is. It's such a fun group effort, and a lot of teamwork, and it's fantastic. Yeah.
And because we're playing the overture from the Magic Flute, it sets up the whole concert. So it's a prelude to the concert, and it is exciting. It kind of sets up the piano concerto.
Now, a lot of people are kind of scared, so to speak, of classical music. They think you need to be an expert or a scholar to attend a classical music concert. Is that the case?
No, not at all. No, I think they'll find when they go to the movies, they hear many times classical music in the background, which they whistle. They know the tunes, so they just maybe not understand that it's really a classical piece, but they hear a lot of classical music in their daily lives. So to hear it live with an orchestra, or to hear classical music when we play with the choir, it's very special.
So, starting with you, Bill, do you have a favorite composer in general or a favorite piece of music to perform on your clarinet?
Oh, that's kind of a question I expected. So here's my answer: no.
No?
It really depends on my frame of mind. I like many different kinds of styles of music and many different composers. I like Mozart. I like Beethoven. I like Dvorak, which is on the concert this week or next week, and it's that variety that's very attractive. And so playing different periods of time in 20th century, classical, romantic, it's all good. I don't have any favorites.
Like choosing a favorite child.
Yeah, it's true. Or a favorite flavor of ice cream.
How about you, Emily?
I was going to say, I think that's what's unique about this orchestra is that we get to do all of it. We get to do the big band, and we get to do classical. We get to do sacred music. I don't know of any other orchestra like that where we can do such a variety of music, and we never know what's coming at us. We show up, we get to play something that it's always has interest in it for us. So it's a privilege to do all these different styles, and everyone here is so good that they can do it.
Well, Emily, we talked about this before we went on the air as far as playing big band music, and the last two Christmas concerts we've had one arrangement by Ryan Murphy, which had a big band section in it, and it is kind of exciting to play. It's a new sound. I think the choir enjoys hearing it, and of course the musicians in the orchestra like doing that. And as you said, inside of all of us is a jazz musician, even though the jazz musician part of the orchestra at Temple Square is only 32 bars long. That's all we did.
And it's hard for us not to start moving during that jazz. You were playing saxophone, Bill, on that, and I was loving it.
No, it was so good. It was really awesome.
Yeah, and I found that the audience loved it, and no one expected it when you broke out that jazz portion at the Christmas concert this year. It was really impressive.
Yeah, that's good.
It was great.
So one of the other questions people have been asking, and multiple people have asked this, is your favorite memory from your time in the orchestra. Starting with you, Becky, do you have just a favorite moment?
You know, it's hard to pick a favorite. Even though I've been in it just a little over a year, there are several really special moments for me. I think one was the tribute that we did on a broadcast of the Sandy Hook Elementary tragedy, and I think that was so uplifting and so wonderful. You know, I think it really helped people feel comfortable, and you know, I think being there for people and to kind of comfort them, and even it was comforting for me. And I think another experience was the Christmas concert was just amazing. It was my first Christmas concert. You know, we had the Candy Bomber there, and it was a surprise, you know, for the audience. And I remember when he came out, it was palpable almost, the feeling that came from the audience, and just that special spirit that was there. It was really just a highlight of the year for me.
Oh, that's great. How about you, Emily? Similar memories?
Yeah, my first Christmas in the orchestra was with Sissel, and it was sort of an out of this world experience to perform with her. And then, of course, when the Oak Ridge Boys came and did Elvira in the conference center, pretty awesome. It was rocking. But probably my most favorite experience was this past Christmas too, because my son was a dancer in the performance, and that was something where I got to do what I love and share it with someone I love. And that was his last Christmas before he left on a mission a couple months ago. And he just wrote home a couple weeks ago saying that when he listens to his Mormon Tabernacle Choir CDs, he thinks he can hear me play. And to me, that's that's gave me purpose. It makes me feel like I can play to him, and he feels like a connection to home, which is true for so many people. When they listen to the Tabernacle Choir, it's like listening to home.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Bill, I'm sure you've got a lot of memories to choose from. Are you able to pick just one?
It's hard to separate many of the memories. Emily touched on the fact that we do touch people, and that's part of some of my favorite memories. We played in a concert tour in 2003. We went out to Avery Fisher Hall in New York City on Lincoln Square, and the stage was very close to the audience, and I just enjoyed watching the reactions on the people's faces in the audience when we sang America the Beautiful and patriotic songs and religious songs and different types of music. You see their expressions in tears. Another favorite place is to play in Chautauqua in New York, where you're very close to the audience and you can see the people's faces, and that's what's very satisfying to me. The choir, through the CDs and through our live concerts, we really touch people's hearts with different kinds of music, and people come from miles and miles around to hear the choir and the orchestra on our tours. They've heard our CDs, they've heard maybe some LPs if they're old enough, and but hearing and watching the choir in person is just a totally different experience. It's physical, and it's emotional, and it's very satisfying, and it does, like Emily said, it does touch people's hearts.
Sorry, Becky. I was just going to say to what Bill was saying, I think one of the advantages we have in the orchestra is that we are closer to the audience than the choir is, and we do see their expressions. And one of my favorite things to do, every broadcast, every tour city that we go to, I like to pick out somebody in the audience that I'm going to watch, because they know they're here to hear something good, but I just know it's about to blow them away, and they have no idea. And I watch their faces, and they change. And by the end, it's so impactful. Their emotions are so clear in their faces that it's really neat to be a part of something that can affect people that strongly.
I wanted to agree with Bill and Emily about the audience. I mean, at my very first broadcast, I think the spirit that was there and the power that was there. I mean, I saw it on, music and the spoken word, but to be there live with this group of performers, and to be part of it was incredible. And I love playing at the Tabernacle, especially because the audience is pretty close, and, we can see their faces. And I remember one patriotic broadcast we did. I think it was for Veterans Day. There were some veterans in the audience, some sweet men, and it was such an honor to touch them with our music and to see that they felt touched and that we could kind of give that gift to them. It was that was a great memory too.
Thank you for sharing that.
We have the best seats in the house, honestly.
We do.
And that music washes over us, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's maybe one thing we should highlight with the concert coming up next week, is that the live experience is very different from what you see on TV. Especially at the Tabernacle, people will literally be able to see the music on your stands if they're sitting down close enough, and that's something really special. So looking at the time, I know we're actually keeping you from rehearsal, so we don't want to go too much longer. But questions are still coming in. So we want to wrap with one final question, and multiple people have asked this, including Paul Frederick via Facebook, I believe. And multiple people, including Paul, are asking what it feels like to be, in some sense, the Savior's orchestra. And I realize that's a heavy question, but I think it's something a lot of people would like to better understand. So how does it feel to have that spiritual side behind every performance? We'll start with Emily.
That's a great question. I feel like the Savior has a message for everyone, and he will share that through music or through word. And we are so privileged to be literally instruments in his hands to bring that to other people. And that is a very satisfying, unexpected part of my life, is to be doing this. I never thought that this would be happening. When I graduated from college, it wasn't, the orchestra didn't even exist, and now here I'm doing something that is beyond anything I could have dreamed of. And so I feel like I have a special privilege to be carrying this message for the Savior.
Well, thank you. Becky?
You know, I mean, it's an incredible honor, and I think there's a special feeling with all of us in that we're volunteers. You know, we're not getting paid to do this. We're doing this because, you know, we believe in our message. We're ambassadors of goodwill. We want to lift people's spirits, and I think, you know, in the world there's so much negativity, and it's so great to be part of this organization where we can, you know, lift people up and comfort people, and do it, you know, from our hearts. We're all coming and doing this because we want to. We like this mission. We want to be part of it, and it's just been a fantastic experience, and it, again, just a huge honor for me.
Thank you.
I agree. I agree with both of Becky and Emily. It's an honor to play in the orchestra and with the choir. We are one organization that, musical organization that, of its kind, we transcend cultural and generational boundaries, and in that way we unite. We unite people that listen to us, no matter where in the world they are. As one of our former directors, Craig Jessup, used to say, you will not know the effect that this CD will have on some person sometime in the future, or this concert, when they listen to it. It will be, whatever song touches their heart, it will be something that will last forever and will change people's lives. Not only the first time they listen to this CD, but in subsequent times. And it's almost unbelievable to think that we, and I'll speak for the members in the orchestra, that we are participating in some organization that has this much spiritual power, you know, just through music and the spoken word and the sung word.
Well, thank you very much to that, and thank you to all of you for participating. Now, again, as I mentioned, you guys have to get to rehearsal. So we want to thank Becky, Emily, and Bill for taking the time to speak with us about the orchestra at Temple Square and the experience of being part of that orchestra. Once again, we have been broadcasting to you live from the Tabernacle, our first Google Plus Hangout from the Tabernacle with members of the orchestra at Temple Square. And we've been doing this to celebrate their spring concert, which will be next week, the 22nd and 23rd of March at 7:30 p.m. in the Tabernacle in Salt Lake City. And guys, am I correct that tickets are still available?
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely.
Beautiful, so you can visit.
Just come if you don't have tickets, really. There will be seats available.
Even better. There are seats available even if you don't have tickets. It's going to be a very special evening. Again, it will be the spring concert featuring works from Mozart, Beethoven, Dvorak, and a very special guest performance from Mikola Suk, who now lives in Las Vegas but is from Budapest originally. It's going to be an amazing show. We thank you all for joining us in this live Google Plus Hangout, and thank you especially to the members of the orchestra at Temple Square for joining us. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.